Hey guys, I'm Sam Crack and I'm a Ferrari owner. When I go out in public, I like to dress like this with my Ferrari hat, Ferrari jacket. I'll even do a little side step when I'm in the store so people can peep the Ferrari logo on my sweatpants. You see, it's super cool when people know that you own a Ferrari. But little do they know, it's actually a freaking nightmare. We dug deep into this Ferrari's engine, replacing almost every single gasket along the way. Cam seals, valve cover gaskets, spark plug O-rings. We did a full service on it with new cam belts, tensioners, and pulleys. We even had to replace one of its main engine computers. Now, even though we've repaired a slew of issues on our Ferrari and dynamically improved its driving ability, we still have one live oil leak, and it's the worst type, a rear main seal leak. It's the worst because it's extremely labor intensive to rectify. We had to pull the transmission out of the Ferrari, which was no simple feat. It took several hours here in the barn. And remember, it all still has to go back together, but before it does, we got to replace or refurbish several pieces. On this Ferrari, if we're lucky, that will cost us a couple $1,000s, and if we're unlucky, it might end up costing us $5,000 or $6,000. That's just in parts alone, not paying anybody to do any of the work for us. Needless to say, this one failed $30 part has tainted the Ferrari ownership experience for me, and I know this all sounds really bad, and I'd hate to start the video off on a negative note, so let me tell you about something that sounds really good, and those are these. Raycon's everyday E25s make for the ideal gift because they're so usable. I carry these with me everywhere I go. And if you've been paying close attention, you'll notice almost every time I'm working on a car, I'm wearing my Raycons. They make work more enjoyable and productive. When my phone rings, one tap on the side of the earbud will answer or hang up, and since they're completely wireless with seamless Bluetooth connectivity, I can move freely around the barn without any interruptions. You get up to 6 hours of playtime with these, but thanks to the battery that's built into their storage case, it'll keep things charged up while they're not in use. Even though they're super small, you can expect huge sound out of a set of everyday E25s, which is incredible considering these cost about 50% less than other boutique brands out on the market. And right now, when you visit buyraycon.com/samcrack or click the link in the description box, you're going to save an additional 15% off. And Raycon isn't satisfied unless you are. That's why they offer a full 45-day money-back guarantee on all purchases. Now, I got to give a huge thanks to Raycon for one of my most favorite innovations since Panel Bond and for also sponsoring this video. Now for the exciting part. Whatever we find in here is going to dictate how much money this entire job is going to cost us. Right off the bat, we've got good news. You see this ring gear is being held in place by 6 bolts. The old style ring gears in these cars were only held in by 3 and they were prone to breaking, so Ferrari revised it with the 6-bolt one. These are several $100s by themselves, and a lot of the clutch kits force you to buy a new one of these. We're gonna be able to reuse this one. As long as all the teeth are intact, we're gonna check the condition of those once we get it off the car, and then we'll be able to pull some more layers of this off. First glance, our ring gear's in really good shape. If you look really close, none of the teeth look severely worn. When you're inspecting a ring gear, you just basically want to look for that. Make sure that none of the teeth are broken off. Now, the purpose of your ring gear, it's attached to the flywheel, and your starter motor will go out and it will transfer some torque, grab in between here and spin it, thus turning your crank and starting your engine. This thing, again, it runs like $500-600. It's in perfect enough shape to reuse. Here's our main culprit, the $30 rear main seal that has caused all this destruction. Now, rear main seals are generally hard to touch. This honestly feels like the brand new one that I ordered, but you can see where it's just kind of rotted out on the bottom here, and it's slowly leaking. Now, on the Ferrari 360, I don't think this is a super common failure unless you let your car sit a while without being driven. This all unfortunately looks fairly bad. Let's start off with our pressure plate here. You could see all of those spots I'm pretty sure this is what people consider hot spots. That's where you have an issue, or you've got a clutch that's so worn down, it's creating all this friction, and what it will end up doing is kind of warping the material. So, I mean, it just looks like a bunch of spots on here. My goal was to get this resurfaced. If we can get the flywheel itself resurfaced, that will save a lot of money, at least 4 figures right off the bat. And then the clutch, like I said, if this clutch looked exceptional, I wouldn't have switched it. But there is a service where you can get your clutch rebuilt. Problem is, you have to have a clutch that's in at least decent condition. And if you see this, you can kind of see where the edges are all chipped up, and in some cases, look, it's already down to the rivets. I'll flip it over here so you can see the other side as well. This is the worst used clutch I've ever seen. Well, it looks like something that was just very abused, like the car was driven hard, a lot of launches and things like that. What I think really happened is that as the rear main seal leaked, it would drip some oil, which would sling on the clutch a bit, and it got into the lining of the clutch. And then you've got, when the clutch is grabbing on the flywheel, you've got that uneven wear. And so some of these spots, they might just appear to be hot spots, but it might just be kind of that oily residue. It will be really interesting to see if this is resurfaceable or not. In a lot of cases, clutch manufacturers produce their clutches to be able to be refurbished or relined. You could pull the lining off, which is an organic material like you'd find on a brake pad, and replace it with another organic material. Or in some cases, there are upgraded clutches with Kevlar or ceramic. Each material will provide for a bit of a different feeling. There are companies that will upgrade my clutch with a Kevlar clutch, and it's a fraction of the price of just ordering a new Ferrari OEM clutch. Now, to replace all of these items that you see here, it's about $3,000 for the package of the clutch and the flywheel. But if you just get your clutch relined, you can do it for about $1,000, or a third of the cost. And the companies that will reline your clutch will also resurface your flywheel, which is a huge savings. That's what I was hoping to do. But looking at what we got here, I don't know if it's possible. There's one more common failure item when it comes to the Ferrari 360 transmissions, and that is this right here, the throwout bearing. It's just known to wear out over time like any bearing. It'll start to sling grease inside here, and if it gets really bad, well, you won't be able to shift your car. No problem, Ferrari will sell you a replacement for $1,000 for a bearing. It's crazy. Well, some other aftermarket company came into the market and said, no problem, we'll take care of that and we'll sell you our bearing for half price, about $500, which is a great thought. The problem is, with their aftermarket bearing, it doesn't fit to the flange that this bearing does. So you have to buy that aftermarket company's flange, which costs about $400, putting you into territory for a Ferrari OEM throwout bearing. However, that company claims that theirs is the last one you'll ever need, which maybe sounds accurate because Ferrari owners never drive their cars. Now, anytime I drove this Ferrari, which was very little, and I only drove it around town, so short distances, the clutch never slipped and never skipped a shift. So the entire reason we're doing this job was really because of our compromise seal, a $30 part, something I've said a few times. But let me break down what everything will end up costing us. Again, this is just parts alone. The transmission side of things are about $1,750. That's a fixed cost. I've already ordered all that stuff because I plan on replacing it. The throwout bearing, the new flange, a very expensive Ferrari sensor. It looks like a common sensor you'd replace on any other car that would be $30 to $50. This one was $600. There's a little bit of hardware mixed into that. Again, $1,700. That's on the side of the transmission. On the side of the engine, when it comes to our clutch and our flywheel, it all depends on whether the stuff can be refurbished. If it can't, well, it's going to cost us about $3,500 for the hardware, clutch, and flywheel. If it can be refurbished, it's just going to be $1,000. So this will cost us anywhere between $2,750 all the way up to quite possibly close to $6,000 once we're all done buying everything, including specialty tools that are necessary and fluids. It's pretty obvious that these Ferrari parts prices are expensive. In my opinion, they're downright ridiculous, but they are going on a Ferrari, so it's to be expected. What is more ridiculous is if you go into the Ferrari dealership requesting a clutch swap, like on our 360, they won't throw half the parts that we're doing while everything is opened up. If they don't deem that your rear main seal is leaking or your throwout bearing has failed, they're simply not going to replace it. Some dealerships, the good ones, are going to offer it to you, and if you're the Ferrari owner on the other end of that call, you might as well take them up on it, because there are multiple reports of guys on the forums that have had clutches done, and then a year or two later, they've still got good clutch life. Now they have to pay thousands of dollars to have the transmission pulled off the car again to replace a simple bearing or seal. It'll be really interesting to see what GTE Engineering, the company that resurfaces the flywheels and relines the clutch, has to say about our parts. I'm pretty pessimistic, but if there is a Kevlar clutch in my future, I'll be letting you know first on Instagram. So if you're not already following me, you can go right here or click the link in the description box below. I also picked up something pretty cool from the auction recently, and I'm hoping to launch a video on it very soon. You're going to find out first about it on my Instagram. Guys, if you can't wait to see the Ferrari driving down the road without any oil leaks and hopefully no more failures, be sure to hit the like button. I can't thank you enough for watching today, and I'll catch you very soon.